Hello, everyone. I have to say, I've really missed telling a good theory, so welcome back. And before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to the Unreal Tales channel. We've got a lot of incredible stuff coming.
We really do. And today's topic is, well, it's a heavy one, but it's fascinating.
It is. So imagine you're looking at a list of 10 people, and over a roughly 22-month period, these 10 individuals, all of them linked in some way to sensitive U.S. research facilities or like advanced laboratories that they've either turned up dead or just vanished completely.
Right, which immediately sounds like a movie.
Exactly. When you lay it out like that, it sounds like the plot of a geopolitical thriller, you know?
Yeah.
Like someone or some shadow organization is systematically targeting the scientific backbone of the country. And the internet, as you might expect, has absolutely run with it.
Oh, they sprinted with it.
Yeah, they grouped these people under this ominous label of the missing scientists. And the sheer volume of speculation has just spiraled into this massive viral phenomenon. We are talking millions of views, dedicated forums, amateur investigations, dissecting every little aspect of these people's lives.
And the momentum behind this narrative is just staggering. But our mission for this deep dive today isn't to add fuel to that fire. We are going to separate the internet hysteria from the documented facts.
Right. We really need to ground this.
Yeah, we're going to look at the source documents, but with a specific focus on the devastating emotional impact these wild speculations are actually having on the grieving families of the victims, because that's what gets lost.
It totally gets lost. It's like, comparing these internet sleuths to people looking for shapes in the clouds, or they want to see a dragon, so they see a dragon. But the tragic difference here is that these aren't clouds.
No, they're not.
These are real people's lives and their deaths. And you have families watching strangers turn their darkest day into a puzzle game.
It's incredibly invasive.
It really is. Before we examine the individual tragedies, though, we must first look at how this narrative gained so much momentum. Because it didn't just stay on, like, fringe internet boards. Okay, let's unpack this. Because the speculation got so intense that both the FBI and the U.S. House Oversight Committee announced investigations into the potential connections.
Yeah, which gives it this false sense of legitimacy, right? People think, oh, if the FBI is looking into it, there must be a real assassin.
Right. If the government is involved, there has to be a baseline irregularity in the mortality rates, doesn't there?
You would think so. But that is where the architecture of this entire conspiracy just completely falls apart. If we look at the source documents, the grounding statistics just shatter the illusion.
What do the numbers actually say?
Well, let's look at the actual population size. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of people working in these fields across the U.S. In a typical 22-month period for a demographic of this size, expected mortality predicts about 4,000 deaths.
Wait, 4,000? Just from natural causes, accidents, everything?
Everything. 4,000 expected deaths. And if you break that down, statistically, you'd expect about 70 homicides and roughly 180 suicides.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And the internet's grand, definitive list of murdered scientists, it only has 10 names on it.
10 out of 4,000.
Exactly 10. The source material emphasizes a really critical line here. It says, the deaths are real, the grief is real, the pattern is not.
The pattern is not. That is so powerful. But why is the internet so eager to lump, like, an administrative assistant, a janitor, and an Air Force general into one giant scientist bucket? I mean, is it just human nature's desperation to find order in random, senseless tragedies?
That's a huge part of it, yes. Apophenia, right. But the sources point out that this list spans entirely unrelated fields. You've got exoplanet research on one end and the pharmaceutical industry on the other. It really highlights the absurdity of connecting them. They don't have the same clearances or locations. It's completely arbitrary.
So they're just forcing puzzle pieces together that belong to completely different puzzles.
Exactly. To make a scary world feel like someone is at least steering the ship, even if it's a bad guy.
Wow. Okay, to truly understand how these theories warp reality and hurt families, we really must move from the abstract statistics to the actual people behind the headlines. And we should probably start with the most prominent murder case on the list.
Yes, Carl Grillmeyer.
Right. Carl was a 67-year-old renowned astronomer at the Caltech IPAC Science and Data Center. Brilliant guy. And he was shot dead in his home in Llano, California on February 16th.
And because he was an astronomer who was murdered, the internet immediately decided he was silenced by the government.
Because he knew too much.
Right. But the real non-conspiratorial facts of his deaths are just heartbreakingly mundane. A 29-year-old local resident named Freddie Snyder has been charged with homicide and trespassing.
And this started way before the murder, didn't it?
It did. Months before the crime, Snyder was trespassing on Grillmare's property with a rifle. When Carl confronted him, Snyder claimed he was hunting coyotes.
Just casually hunting coyotes on someone else's land.
Yeah. And Carl, being a rational guy, simply told him to move along. No huge fight. But Snyder was causing trouble elsewhere in the area, which prompted another entirely different neighbor to call 911.
Oh, and let me guess, Snyder blamed Carl.
Exactly. Snyder mistakenly blamed Grillmare for the 911 call. So this petty grudge escalates into harassment. 2 weeks before the fatal shooting, Snyder actually returned to Carl's property with a baseball bat.
That is terrifying.
And then 2 weeks later, he returned with a gun.
It's just so deeply sad. I want to focus on the emotional toll here, specifically on Carl's wife, Louise Grillmare. The sources show she was asked about these theories, and she just calls them complete nonsense.
You can almost hear the exhaustion in that.
Totally. She even notes that Carl would have laughed at the internet speculation. He was a scientist. She said he likely would have used statistical data to refute the theories himself.
Which is such a poignant thing to say, and it highlights his true legacy, which is what makes this so deeply unfair. His life is being overshadowed by internet fiction.
What was he actually like outside of the work?
He was this incredibly enthusiastic pilot. He generously took people flying in his personal gliders just to share the experience. And he was so forgiving. Sources mention he was in 2...
Wait, isn't that the Tom DeLonge project? The Blink-182 vocalist?
Yes, exactly. A project investigating UFOs. So conspiracists immediately claim McCaslin was taken because he possessed extraterrestrial secrets, or that he knew about UFO debris at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base stemming from the 1947 Roswell incident.
They went straight to Roswell.
They're straight to Roswell.
But the agonizing reality, which was shared by his wife, Susan McCaslin Wilkerson, is just so different. She explained that 3 hours after returning from a doctor's appointment, she had to call 911. Her husband had left his cell phone at home, but he had taken his gun.
Which is a massive, immediate red flag.
Highly unusual. And she revealed the medical reality. He had been suffering from severe anxiety, short-term memory loss, and insomnia. He had explicitly stated to his family that he didn't want to live if his mind and body continued to deteriorate.
It's a profound mental health crisis. What's fascinating here is how Susan bravely fought back against the internet mob, because they were flooding her with this UFO nonsense while she's terrified her husband has taken his own life.
How do you even deal with that?
She used dark irony. On Facebook, she clarified that he retired 13 years ago. He only held standard security clearances with, as she put it, very outdated secrets. And she noted he had absolutely no special knowledge of Roswell.
Good for her for setting the record straight.
But then she used this biting sarcasm. She wrote that maybe the best hypothesis is that aliens teleported him to a mothership, though there was no record of a ship hovering over the Sandia Mountains.
Oh my God, that is incredible. But it also just makes me wonder, how is a family supposed to process the painful reality of a loved one's mental decline and potential suicide when they are forced to actively fight a sci-fi narrative constructed by absolute strangers?
They shouldn't have to. It's a secondary trauma. They are trying to grieve, and the internet is demanding they play along with a sci-fi script.
Yeah, the pain experienced by the Grillmare and McCaslin families isn't isolated either. Every name on this internet list represents a family whose very real mourning is being interrupted by strangers demanding a conspiracy.
Absolutely, every single one.
I mean, take Melissa Gasius. She was an administrative assistant at the Los Alamos National Laboratory. She disappeared from Taos, New Mexico. And her husband, Mark, posted on Facebook about the 6 hardest weeks of their lives.
Yeah, his statement was very clear.
Very clear. He stated his belief that she's okay, but that she left voluntarily. And what did the internet do? Conspiracists completely ignored the family's statements just to fit her into their puzzle.
Because a voluntary disappearance is complicated and human. A shadow government kidnapping is simple and exciting. And we see this in the solved cases too. Take MIT physicist Nuno Loureiro.
What happened there?
He was murdered by a former classmate. The classmate actually confessed on video.
Oh, wow. So it was fully solved.
Fully solved. Nothing to do with his research. Or take the unnamed researcher whose body was found in a lake. The internet thought this was highly suspicious, but the real context is devastating. His death came just a month after he held his dying father in his arms during a fatal heart attack.
Oh my goodness.
Which occurred only hours after his mother died.
Both parents in one day.
Yes. His wife stated he was profoundly shaken. He was going through unimaginable acute grief.
and the internet turned his heartbreak into a clue for a murder mystery. The overarching emotional theme found in the sources is just so heavy. The families describe these theories as repugnant. They call them terrible. Many relatives refuse to speak publicly at all, just to avoid giving the conspiracies more visibility.
They have to hide their grief to protect it.
Exactly. They consider the speculation deeply disrespectful to their memory.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really exposes the profound cruelty of stripping away a person's individual, nuanced tragedy, just to make them a convenient data point in a fake internet mystery. It erases who they actually were.
It totally does. It's like in our modern rush to be armchair detective, we often just completely forget the golden rule of humanity. It means treating real tragedies as entertainment inherently strips the victims of their dignity.
It reduces a human life to content.
Content for strangers. Well, to summarize our deep dive today, we've looked at the cold statistics that prove there is no actual anomaly here. We've uncovered the heartbreaking, mundane realities behind the deaths of people like Carl Grillmer and General McCaslin.
They're real stories.
Right, and we've exposed the brutal emotional toll these viral conspiracies take on the grieving families.
And for anyone listening, it's a reminder that critical thinking doesn't mean finding the most exciting or hidden explanation. It often means accepting the boring, painful truth and having empathy for those living through it. The real world is messy.
It is. Which leaves you with a final provocative thought to ponder today. When a tragedy happens, who truly owns the narrative? Is it the grieving family who lived it, or the public who consumes it? The next time you see a true crime theory trending online, ask yourself whose grief is being monetized for a click. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.